Hello folks and welcome back to Quick Reviews, the show where we quickly review the games that we've been playing this week. Our scores grow from F, which is a failure, all the way to A, which is an awesome game. Today we have a very special guest, Rurikhan. Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm a little bit tired, didn't get too much sleep, but I'm ready to go. Let's get into it.
Vegetas, as always.
How guys doing?
Terrific. Let's get into Persona 5, the game that came out this week. Rurikhan, you've been playing. How many hours do you got so far?
About 6-7 hours into it at this point.
All right, I'm about 11 hours, so you're not that far behind. We're pretty cool. This is my first Persona game. This is not your first Persona game.
Nope.
How does this compare to Persona 4?
So Persona 4 already had a lot of style, but I kind of feel that Persona 5 really takes what they've learned in Persona 4 and kind of does a natural evolution of the series. It's just like the sheer style and how everything flows together, from combat to regular moving through a dungeon. Just like all of the animations, and I'm talking about animations in the UI, animations in combat, just about everything. It has this natural sense of flow to it. It doesn't have that, like you encounter an enemy in Persona 4 and it's like, okay, we're now going to do this thing and going to go into battle, and you can tell that it's almost like the Final Fantasy VII thing of like, and you zoom into the
turn-based time.
Yeah. This one just kind of flows into it so naturally that the style of the animations just really gets me.
That game's got a style that can carry the whole game on its own, even if the rest wasn't any good.
Pretty much.
And I've been enjoying the rest of it a lot. Yeah. I'm 11 hours in, still getting tutorial messages, which sounds scary, but I've never seen a game do it so well other than Persona, because it's like, it puts you in sort of a linear playthrough for the first few hours to teach you all the mechanics, and it's systems on top of systems, but it flows so naturally, and it's so good at teaching you that stuff that when it opens up and lets you do whatever you want, you know where you want to be or what you want to be spending time on.
What do you want to do? And specifically, this is something that we see a lot in Japanese games. They like to front load all of their tutorials, and so sometimes you load up a Japanese RPG and you're just like, well, I guess this is 2 hours of them just bombarding me with mechanics. I think Persona 5 actually does a better job of like gradually introducing mechanics to you and slowly opening up the world. Even if I do feel, as someone who played the Persona 4, I already know a lot of these systems, so I kind of wish that they would just let me free upon this world. I know what I want to do, and they're just like, no, now you have to go to bed, now you have to sleep, and I was like, no, I want to go outside, and they're like, nope.
I can see that being the frustrating side of it for sure. I think the combat is cool. It's very JRPGs. You've got elemental weaknesses. You can collect the monsters you fight and then mix them into new monsters and all of that.
Fusing personas.
I have been feeling some repetitiveness that I hope goes away, because, you know, I've been doing the first dungeon, and dungeons are huge. Like, they're really big. You're not gonna do them in a single run. It's almost like you go into a dungeon, you activate a checkpoint, okay, time to go back, because I'm out of health, I'm out of magic or skill point, I don't know.
You need to go to bed.
Spell points.
Spell points, yeah.
So the next morning you go to school.
And then next morning you go to school, and then at night you go to the dungeon, and you go back to the checkpoint you activated and continue the dungeon from there. But nice. That dungeon, since it's really long, I've been getting a lot of repeated encounters.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that will happen in Persona. It is also it's kind of like the means to an end, because you will want to level up your characters, so you will want to have the possibility of doing those encounters and then gathering new personas so that you can fuse them together and form other new personas. Yeah. So
I've been enjoying that aspect of it, of collecting new personas and fusing different ones to get new ones. I've been enjoying that a lot. The stealth bit, I understand that's new.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of stealth in the dungeon just yet. I mean, you get a little bit of a stealth sequence at the very start of the game, but at the point that I'm at in the game yet, they haven't really allowed me to do the thing where you sneak behind boxes and stuff.
Okay.
That I haven't gotten to do that.
But the whole thing is a stealth, like all the dungeons seem to be a stealth thing now, because the theme is you're a thief.
You're a thief, yeah. It's very different. Like in Persona 4, it was just like typical dungeon crawling. You would just go into a dungeon, start killing enemies, and then at the end you would have a boss encounter.
Yeah.
All of course themed around a specific dungeon, because like right now the first dungeon is themed around this thing that happens in the game that I'm not going to spoil.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting further dungeons, just like in Persona 4, to be themed around other things, around other people's dark desires and whatnot.
Yeah, that's really the theme. Like the story has been taking me to places that I just wasn't expecting, because this is my first Persona game, and once it starts talking about physical abuse and sexual abuse, and this is a fucked up story.
Persona,
and I didn't expect it.
Persona has no issues talking about stuff where most developers will be shy and be like, oh man, I don't want to touch this subject. Because Persona's just like, no, here it is. Here's what we think about it, and you can either take it or leave it. And usually what I find is that makes the story a lot better. Also just the nature of how some characters speak with you in a more polite manner. And one of the other characters, one of your main companions that you'll encounter early on, he's actually very explicit, constantly dropping, basically, I don't know if you curse in this show or not.
Sure, why not?
But basically saying stuff like, oh, this shit's really happening, this is bullshit. And just
there was a segment there where they had like every character, and there were like 5 characters speaking to each other. Every character would say, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah, stuff like that.
That was a bit too much.
Okay.
Like at that particular time, it was a bit too much. But the VO, the writing is really good.
Yeah.
So
and the voice work, like, it really surprised me because, like, I think I played Persona 4 with Japanese voices, so they didn't have localization in the version that I played. And just seeing them knock it out of the park on their first attempt of actually getting localized voice, I thought the voice work was amazing.
Yeah.
Like throughout, at least up until the point that I've played.
Yeah, me too. And even though I have this little nuisance or problem with the combat being a bit repetitive, and also I don't think the stealth controls particularly well. There are sections where you want to take cover and, oh, you can't take cover because it's like they specifically handpicked spots that you can take cover behind corners. It's not sort of a dynamic system where anything works. So that can get janky sometimes, but I always felt, okay, I'm playing combat and stealth, and it never gets annoying because then you're going into story, you're going to dialogue, and then you start to get like, okay, I want to play this game again, and at that exact moment, it sends you back to the dungeon. And so it's like, it's really well balanced. It's hard for us to score because there is going to be a lot of it, but I get.
Yeah, it's like they never. I always feel that it never wears off its welcome. So like, some people might think, okay, so there's this visual novel aspect to Persona, and it's maybe 30% of it or something, and then there's this combat, and I would say that in this game it feels more like 60-40, as in 60 visual novel and dialogue, getting to know the characters, and then 40% actually going to dungeons and doing combat and stuff like that. But what people need to understand is that the way that this is done is not your typical visual novel where it's like, well, I guess I'll press X a couple of times while I'm waiting for these characters to talk about stuff.
Right.
And here you're actually choosing, okay, now what do I want to do? I want to go do this. Like, for instance, what was the first activity you've done without any spoilers? Like, once they free you, because at a certain point in Persona, they kind of free you and they say, okay, you can do whatever you want with your afternoons now.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you did?
I went and bought a book.
Yeah, but like that doesn't take time. Like I'm talking about the activity.
I went to the movies.
You went. That was the first thing you did. Went to the movies.
So.
Well, to give you an idea, the first thing I did was I participated in a drug trial.
Great.
A clinical drug trial.
Oh, I've done that too. I've done that too. Yep.
A drug trial?
Yeah.
Like testing drugs?
Let's not get into too specific there,
Sure.
but yeah, it's like just to get people an idea of the breadth of activities that you can do. It's like you went to the movies, now it's like, I'm gonna go become a guinea pig for this crazy doctor in the back alley.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Guess
That
what? I
sounds
got
crazy.
guts too.
Yeah, that gives you guts too. Anyway, that feels like an A to me, but it's way too soon to tell. I think.
You will definitely need more time.
Yeah.
I would say A as well, because simply it's just a natural evolution of Persona, but it does bring a couple of new things. Like one of the things that I wanted to mention before we're done with it is that there's a mechanic, which is the hold-up mechanic. So that is different from what you had in Persona 4. Now in Persona 4, there was this mechanic where you hit your enemies with the thing that they're weak to, they all drop to the floor, and then you can just do an all-out attack.
Oh, and now you can talk to them? That's new?
That's new.
Huh.
That's new for Persona,
You can talk to your enemies during
Yeah,
turn-based combat,
I
man.
saw some of that stuff.
So the thing is, I believe that I haven't played a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games, but that is a mechanic that comes from the original Shin Megami Tensei, where you have to negotiate with the monsters, you have to figure out what motivates them and then talk with them, and then you can gain their persona, or you can get them to give you money, or you can get them to give you an item, and I thought that was a really cool addition.
That is
and
a really
also,
cool addition.
you can still do the all-out attack, so.
Yeah, if you want, just press triangle. Speaking of Japanese games, we've been playing Voez.
Oh, yeah.
That's sent by Nintendo. It's a rhythm game.
Sure, it's a pretty neat game. I think it has a very good art style to it. For a rhythm game, I mean, there's a lot of competition out there in the market, but this one stands out for the pretty art style that it has. And the music selection is not very good.
There's a lot,
I think,
but I don't think it's great.
I think there's something there, which is that music selection is specifically for people that have a bias towards Japanese music.
The thing is,
and I have a little bit of that
Glo-
bias,
Glo-
but even
Globko-
I'm like, whatever.
Globko listens to a lot of Japanese music, and even him is not very into it.
I don't know. I think there's a crowd that will definitely
But
enjoy
sure,
the
there's
music.
a crowd.
There's
that will-
always someone.
There's always someone. But either way, I mean the way notes flow from the top to the bottom of the screen and how they change lanes on that touch screen, it kind of creates a choreography between your fingers and all the notes coming down. It's really beautiful.
Yeah,
And,
it's really well animated. I like the look of that game a lot. Yeah.
But then again, it's just another rhythm game. I don't know. I don't think it does things particularly well, but it's another one of those.
I think it's a pretty hardcore rhythm game.
No, because it doesn't punish you if you miss.
I
But
don't
it's
think
like you don't get as much of a score.
Sure, so it's a
It's
rhythm
like if-
game about score.
Like Vegeta's only got C's in the live stream.
Sure,
that
that's
we
true.
did.
I made
That's why I'm
I
saying,
made full combos off the stream, but
Yeah, but it's like that's what I'm saying. I feel it's like really hardcore, particularly when you get into the really hard music. It's almost like I think like a StarCraft player. A Zerg StarCraft player would be really good at playing that.
No, the
With
thing
your
is like
DPI.
the APS.
the thing is like all rhythm games, you get to know the musics as you play them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you played Guitar Hero, of course you're not gonna do the hardest levels on the first try.
Yeah.
You have to play over and over again till you get all the sections.
and even the hardest levels, it gets to a point where you have to learn the music before you even play it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not very punishing if you compare to other rhythm games on that aspect.
Yeah.
So.
And the song also doesn't change when you miss notes. And
No,
that-
there's
that's one
no
of my
There's
visuals
least,
or audio cue.
feedback, yeah.
Yeah, so
I kind of
that's
wish
one of my
there was-
least favorite things to put in a rhythm game.
Yeah,
I think that's an obvious miss.
There needs to be some kind of feedback somewhere that's like, hey, you messed up. Guess
Yeah.
what?
yeah,
Definitely.
you screwed that up, you idiot.
You want to score it?
Yeah, I want to score it. I would give it C.
I think this game is the definition.
Just like the game gave you.
Oh boy,
Vegeta's like
bird.
payback time.
that's nice.
You get a C.
I think this game is the definition of C because it's okay.
Yeah.
It's an okay game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game to play, when you don't have nothing else to play.
Speaking of okay games, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
We both finished it.
Yeah, we both finished it.
Cool.
It's like we have different opinions on the story. I think you don't like it as much as I did.
I think there are good moments in that story. Overall, I feel that stuff just kind of happens and doesn't have a lot of
Doesn't have a lot of
consequences. And also, like, I love the characters from the trilogy, so everything that happens to them, I care about that.
Yeah.
And because the voice acting and especially the writing isn't great in this one.
There's definitely problems in the writing.
So I ended up not caring too much about these characters. So whatever happens, I don't give a fuck. That's kind of my...
I mean, I would care about some of the characters because there were some of the characters that had a personality that I would like. Like, I think PB is a fun character.
Yes.
I think Vetra is also a good character.
Nah.
I mean, Vetra is much more black and white character. She's like, here, do this thing. This is what I'm going to do.
I guess.
But I respect that.
Okay.
But either way, I like the main story. We're not gonna go on too much about that. But I kind of like the main story because I always like the experience of exploring something out in space and going to different planets. And we're basically kind of colonizing the Andromeda galaxy. And personally, that's something that I enjoyed.
I wish they leaned on a bit more into that, the colonization aspect, like create an outpost. And the first outpost you create,
It's great.
it tells you, hey, do you want this to be a military or scientific? And I thought, okay, they're going to go into this with every outpost. No, they're not. It's
Yeah,
just
and-
the first one.
And not to mention, did you make it military or scientific? It's just real quick.
Scientific.
Yeah, me too. But it's like I don't think that has a big impact in the story.
That
I
had
really
an
expected
impact
it.
for one side mission, which was, but it's just some text that changes. Basically, you create a scientific outpost, and the people in military cryogenis, their families get pissed off because they didn't get unfrozen. But I bet if you pick a military outpost, it's the exact same quest, but they're pissed off about the other one.
The other one, because like I thought when I was doing that, I thought, okay, so this is how the rest of the galaxy is going to see me. So I would expect like maybe if you create a military outpost, the other races would be more wary of you and they would respond with more hostility. Because
Also,
like
what other races? Like the ones that are already your enemy, or the ones that you meet and become your allies? Because they're not going to change
exactly.
that.
Like, but at the start of the game, I thought there's so much potential for this one one choice. Like I actually sat there for like 10 minutes or something pondering the different things that you could have done, and it's just like I went with scientific as well, but like I didn't really see a big payoff.
And that's basically the analogy that I'm making for the whole game. Basically, is like, yeah, that happened. What next? Because you're not gonna live with these consequences.
And then there's also another thing that kind of annoyed me a bit, because we've been talking about it, and it's like, so you didn't do all of the affinity missions for your companions.
I did like 3, got tired, mainlined the quests, and finished the game.
I did all of the affinity missions because I was kind of having that thing about Mass Effect 2 where if you don't maximize affinity and stuff, and your people will die at the end.
Someone's gonna die. Nope.
And it turns out that in this one, nobody died. You're just like, I did 3 of them. I don't care about anything else. Boom, done.
Doesn't even matter.
I do have to say something. If you're going to do an affinity mission, do Liam's. And I don't like Liam as a character, but his affinity mission is really cool.
Okay.
But it's like, beyond the main story, I felt that the planets were really repetitive. Because it's basically like, if you were doing what I was doing, which is I wanted to really focus on the colonizing Andromeda aspect. So basically it's like, every time I land on a planet, this is not a spoiler, it's just like a straight up game mechanic. To colonize a planet, go to the 3 monoliths, activate them, go to the vault, activate that, boom, done.
Actually, then it tells you to do a couple of other missions
sometimes
that are
you'll have
relevant.
side quests.
And those side quests sometimes are okay.
Sometimes they're good, but...
and I think the planets are really distinctive from each other in terms of atmosphere and just looks.
The planets are great, and exploring the planets is great, but I kind of wish there was more diversity than like, hey, you already know, here's what you gotta do to colonize. 3 monoliths, vault, boom.
Yeah, a bit more mystery would be
cool.
Like
I'd like it to be a little bit different. Then there was also the Sudoku puzzles.
Space Sudoku is really good. I like that, actually.
Yeah, me too.
That's a good hacking mechanic, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like the first time I ran into it, it took me a while to figure it out. And I was live streaming it, and people were just like making fun of me. And the final sequence of the game to me was one of the best, because even the animations in the cutscenes there, everything was fine.
Yeah,
it was like actually well polished, but all of the other cutscenes, we all know about the facial animations. My face is tired, and all this other nonsense. I had one animation where there was a naked alien chopped in half coming out of a table, and that same alien was also in the cutscene in a different section. And I was like,
what the fuck is happening?
Dumpster fire! Like, what is going on?
the game's full of bugs outside of that, and I didn't get a lot of game-breaking bugs. I had 2 bugs that made me reset the game, but other than that, it's like there's a lot of small annoyances.
I had a pretty big bug that I really like talking about. It's how I turned the sky of a planet black.
It's an alien planet, man. Yeah, it's an alien planet.
The sky just became black. Like, it didn't even have a texture. It was just black.
That was no bug. That was a feature.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I like the combat a lot better in this one.
The combat is amazing. It's the best thing about this Mass Effect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you can respec.
So I didn't respec because you didn't find the favorites. Because you can change build on the fly, even during combat.
No, I didn't.
So I never respect, because I was always like, okay, this is one of my favorites, and then I'm gonna do other favorites.
But like I would respect, because I would completely change the points to different locations. So I did biotic, I did tech, I did combat. I tried everything out, and that to me was a lot of fun, because I'm kind of a sicko for optimizing builds and min-maxing and doing all that kind of stuff. So really fiddling with the system and getting to experience a lot more of the Mass Effect combat than I did in any of the other Mass Effect games. Because like in the other ones, you can respec. So I would see something cool in the other ones, like, oh, I really like the thing with him jumping up and using the Omni tool and doing the AoE. I'm never going to do that because I'm using biotic. So
right.
In this one, I just go like, oh, I'll just go respec. That's the only thing I spent money on in the game.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that it doesn't limit you. Like, each class doesn't have assigned abilities. You can just pick everything you want and combine new abilities in ways that you weren't able to before. I think there's a lot of weapon variety as well. Every weapon that I picked up was significantly different from each other. There's a complex crafting system, sort of satisfying once you get past the clutter that it is all the menus.
Also very frustrating when you try to craft something really cool and it turns out that it kind of sucked.
You know, the game has to keep its balance in check.
I was like, no, I want to build the most overpowered gun ever, and the game is like, nope.
No.
Here, you can build it. It's gonna suck though. So I did it, and it sucked.
And it's better. So I said it's better than the other Mass Effects, but I still don't think, like, as an action game, it stands with a lot of modern titles. But again, like the previous Mass Effects, the writing was so good that we endured the combat to get to the dialogue. Here, it's
almost the other way around. You endure the dialogue to get to the combat.
a little bit, but then the combat isn't enough to carry that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's okay. It's probably a C, and I guess it's disappointing because we expected more.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of expectations out of Mass Effect, so I think C is probably the way to go for Mass Effect if you're gonna grade it.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Like I'm still glad I played it. It's not the kind of game where you play it and you're like, man, what a waste of my time. No, because I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the combat. There's a lot of cool stuff in Mass Effect. There's also a lot of other stuff that you have to endure to get to the cool stuff, though, and that's where it becomes a bit of a problem.
Definitely don't do any of the tasks.
But like I said, definitely everyone should do the Liam quest because it's so good. I think the Liam quest is one of the things that really stuck with my mind. Yeah, it's really good.
So C.
Vegetas, how's the Spectre Knight quest?
It's super awesome. It's super awesome. I love it. You know, I'm a sucker for nostalgia games and more of a retro platformers. So, Shovel Knight Specter of Torment. It's a really awesome game. It's a standalone expansion for the original Shovel Knight. And I just love the movement on that game. It's super quick, super tight. The diagonal slash mechanic they added to the Spectre Knight, it's amazing.
Oh, it's cool.
You just flow through the levels, chopping up enemies and pieces of scenario. It's really cool. The story ties in pretty well with the original Shovel Knight. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but you see why Spectre Knight works for the Enchantress.
You sound in love with that story after playing that DLC.
I really loved Shovel Knight, but I wasn't expecting for it to deliver such a deep story like this one. I just thought let's play the villain. I thought it was just one of those games, and suddenly all the backstory. It's like, oh, so this is what happened, and this is why this guy is working on the bad side. And I know you have a lot of cool sequence. You have flashback memories that work pretty well as to deliver the story, and the ending. It's amazing. I don't know
how long.
6 hours and a half I took to finish the first playthrough with a lot of death. It's a really challenging game at some points. Some levels are just damn right crazy. So yeah, if you like games like Mega Man where you have to do those crazy jumps and time it right to precision, it's gonna be one of those. Yeah. If you like it, you're gonna love this. If you don't like it, then don't do this. Don't play.
I'm super excited about Spectre Knight. It's just like right now I'm doing Persona, but I want to get into Spectre Knight just because I didn't get to play the full first Shovel Knight. But this one seems even better. I am curious about something though. So Shovel Knight had obviously the thing where his thing was like he hits people with a shovel.
He has a shovel. Yeah.
This guy has a scythe.
Yeah.
Seems more like
He's the Grim Reaper.
So that's it. He doesn't have like something dumb like he uses a scythe, but then he like kills people with bottle caps or something.
No,
like
he uses a scythe as a skateboard. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, there had to be something like that.
It's sometimes the humor on that game. It's really cool. It just. All that darkness that revolves around the characters suddenly shatter with this thing. You can dark slide on your scythe. What? Why not? And you have like the cool upgrade systems that you can buy different armors and upgrade your specs.
Does it actually change the way you look?
Yeah, it's not significant change. It's like a color scheme, except for one armor that leaves.
But
like
it's good
a trail.
to have that variety, though. I mean,
it's
you're
really
playing
cool.
the same game for 6 hours. You get to pick how your character looks. That's good.
Yeah, and only thing I didn't like was the New Game Plus gives you a mechanic that I really didn't like. It's the darkness, which is your mana, and the will, which is your health. Fuse both of them on New Game Plus, and it's always decreasing. So you have to constantly kill.
It's like an arcade game.
Yeah.
Sucking your quarters with your health always decreasing, and if you use a special attack, you're gonna lose more health.
No. If you use a special attack, it doesn't decrease as much as you would on the original game.
But it
you have
decreases.
a lot. You have a really lot. But that also, It's like if you play the game, you know the levels, so you need to rush now through the levels so you don't get killed. And you can't just, okay, I'm gonna wait here for the platform to come down for the 7th time. So I can time the jump perfectly. So that's the only thing I didn't like because I'm not very much into speedruns.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but if you want the challenge, there you have it.
Score it, my man.
Score? I would give it a B.
Okay.
It's a B. I don't think it's...
What's the downside?
Yeah, it sounded like you were
Why is it
super in
not
love.
an A?
That
Now
is
we need
surprising.
to know.
I wouldn't give it an A because I doesn't think it stands up to today's games because it's based on nostalgia.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay.
This game is made possible like if it was released on the NES era or SNES era. It doesn't bring nothing new to the genre.
I kind of feel the movement of it is quite a bit different than what you would get on an NES era game, but I don't know. I haven't played it.
This one in particular, yes. I think Shovel Knight was closer to that era, but
it's quicker.
This
it's
one
a little bit
feels...
quicker, but it's still possible to have done that game on. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, Mr. Video Game Developer. I have a final quick note on NieR Automata. As you guys know, I played. I did the first ending and didn't feel like continuing because side quests are boring and the open world is boring. But I really love that main quest. So because of a comment by Tyrone Hardy, he goes into some spoiler stuff. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. But he says there are 5 endings. The first one you play as 2B. The second one, you play the same thing as 9S, and 9S already plays very differently. So, and he does some other stuff. I thought, for the most game, you're hanging around with 9S, so I thought mostly I was gonna play the same sort of game. But then I noticed, oh yeah, 9S left to do his own thing in this area, and now I get to play that. That's cool. Third playthrough, the story just continues. So there's a lot more main mission, which is the stuff that I liked in NieR. To be played. That said, I feel very out-leveled by enemies at this point because I ignored most of the side quests. I turned the difficulty down to easy, and I still think it's taking me way too long to kill those guys. So not enjoying that side of it still, but we might have scored it too low. I'm not going to change the score until I finish it.
How dare you score NieR Automata too low?
Look, man, it's that open world and those side quests are terrible.
Give me a knife.
You didn't play it. Why are you defending the game? You didn't
because
play
Platinum Games is awesome. That's why I'm defending the game.
You know, I don't think their combo system is.
I don't care what you say.
Okay. Fine.
Platinum Games is awesome. You shut your face. Let's go.
Thanks for tuning in to another Quick Reviews episode. Now available on Android and iOS on all your favorite podcast apps. If you're already listening there, come to youtube.com/magicalnoob if you want the video as well.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Leave us a nice review. We have never been in the podcast area like this. Leave us a nice, 5 stars. Best podcast in the world.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening, watching. Take care. Thanks, Rui. Where can people find you?
They can find me on YouTube and Twitch. It's Rurikon. I'm sure you'll put links in the description or whatever. So just go down there, check it down there if you want to see my stuff.
Now I gotta remember to put links in the description of the video, the RSS feed,
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Links for days.
Links for days. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.